Joker 2, the much anticipated sequel directed by Todd Phillips, starring Joaquin Phoenix as Joker and Lady Gaga as Lee, or Harley Quinn. So the movie is finally here, and let me preface something for a quick second. Now, I was a big fan of the first movie. I loved the cinematography, and I even loved the take on this character, even though there is an argument that this is not really a Joker story and more of a commentary on mental health awareness. I still had a great time with that movie. Joaquin Phoenix does absolutely fantastic in this role, and it's a movie that I rewatch fairly often. But if I'm being honest, it is a movie that I never even thought that we needed a sequel to. I was satisfied with having this take of the character and this version, and it being a story that was a one and done. But however, when a sequel was announced, can't hide that I was a bit excited for it and to dive back into this world. And now that it's finally here, still don't know that we needed a sequel. Now look, don't get me wrong, I liked this movie. Had a decent enough time going to see it in the theaters, but there are definitely a few aspects that are holding the film back. And after seeing it for myself, I still feel that the first movie is a much stronger film, and it still holds its place as my favorite of the two. And we will talk about that ending. I'm gonna make sure that I put that in the end of the video. There'll be a spoiler warning so you don't get caught off guard. But getting back to it. So jumping into some positives about the film, I'm gonna have to start with Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, Joker, is absolutely incredible. His commitment and dedication to the role, both in the character and the preparation that he put into becoming this character, is phenomenal, and he does a great job. His ability to get into the character and really embody Arthur is wildly crazy and sometimes a bit creepy. The intensity that he brings into this character, mainly for like the heavier scenes, is ridiculous. Sometimes it's a little bit unsettling. Lady Gaga also, I was pleasantly surprised with her portrayal of Harley Quinn, or as they call her in the movie, Lee. And you know, I haven't really spent a lot of time watching Lady Gaga in films. I don't really have a wide reference as far as her acting ability goes, but I think that it's widely considered that she is a pretty good actor. And I think that shows in this film as well. Her version of Harleen Quinzel is very fitting for this world. The chemistry between her and Arthur is believable. It does happen a little quick, but you get over it real fast, considering where they're at and the kind of situation that they're in. And yes, it was a very different take on this character as well. But for this world and this atmosphere, she fits well within the cast, within the vibe that they're going for. She also has some very subtle comedic moments, which I thought was nice, had me laughing in my seat quite a few times, and I did enjoy when she was on screen. Cinematography and the atmosphere of this movie, I think, is very immersive for what they're going for. Judging this movie as it is, right, there are some beautiful camera shots in this film. The lighting is phenomenal, especially, you know, you get into kind of some of those musical numbers, and lighting is a big thing with the spotlights and whatnot. They did a good job with that. Most of this movie does take place in Arkham, but it definitely feels like Arkham, even if it is more of a grounded version than what some of us are used to. But this gritty throwback type of vibe, back in the olden days kind of setting, fits this version of Joker so well. I mean, I don't think they ever specify what year they're in, but Harley Quinn has an answering machine with cassette tapes, so take that with what you will. But overall, I feel like the world around Arthur Fleck and this city of Gotham, even though we don't get to see too much of Gotham itself, it is very believable. The production value of this movie, I think, was up there. I think they hit about 200 million was their budget, and I think it was used well as far as the setting of the movie goes. Jumping into some of the negatives that I thought didn't really work too well for the film, because there are a few. I'm starting off with the slow start and kind of how it goes. The pacing of this movie is very slow, so much slower than the first film. It really relies on the suspense of what will be the outcome for Arthur from what he did in the last movie. When you start up the movie, you kind of get an idea of the tone, the vibe, the pacing that they're going for, and it really doesn't pick up at all until maybe the last 20 to 30 minutes, except for maybe a couple musical numbers that kind of change the tempo of everything. And then we jump right back into the slow pacing that was before. Now, if you are into kind of the slow burn type of film, then that might not be a bad thing. But with a 2 hour and 20 minute runtime, 2 hour and 19 minute runtime, you start to feel it in that back half. Another thing I thought that was holding the movie back was the amount of musical numbers in this movie. I, for one, really am not into musicals anyway. There's a few that I like, but for the most part, I kind of stay away from them. And in Joker 2, The musical aspect, I think, kind of holds the film back and adds to that runtime. The first 30-45 minutes of the film, there really isn't a lot of musical stuff going on, but man, when they kick off and they start and they don't stop. And I do get it. Some of the musical moments are used to reflect how this character is feeling, what they're thinking. Other times it's not even a vision. They're actually doing this activity while singing. And some of that and some of what was going on kind of pulled me out of the moment, and I just wanted to get through the song. And don't get me wrong, because the song choices, like the songs themselves in this movie, I thought were really good songs. They were really engaging, nice little head boppers. It was good music. But like when you're in a very heavy courtroom scene and you know that this is important and we constantly go to another musical number, it was just a lot of back and forth, and it really made it feel like a lot. And that is the best way I think that I can say it, that the musical numbers were a lot. And while the songs themselves were good, it was just very overwhelming. And with that musical element, sometimes it really starts to feel like it's just dragging. Lastly, I don't know if I would really consider this a negative so much as to maybe off-putting to some people, is the mental health awareness commentary that goes into this movie. Now, if that does not bother you, or if it's not too much for you, if you like the first film, then it might not even be a thing. But I think for the most part, we all know that this particular take of the Joker is a commentary on mental health and the awareness of it. And honestly, I think that that is important, and I think that it is definitely something that needs to be talked about, because there have been many times in my life where I hear things like anxiety is all in your head, ADHD doesn't exist. And because of those kind of takes, I think that it's important that we get mental health awareness out there and talk about these things that are very real, that people go through every day. And with this movie, I think it does that. I think that it is very heavy-handed with it, and it is so very intense that I feel like this franchise, this movie, is an appeal to a very niche audience. So I'm not really too sure how general audiences will see these kind of moments or these kind of portrayals with very real and heavy-hitting conditions. And even though it has become a thing to kind of sympathize with the villain as of late, being made to feel like we should be sympathizing with Arthur is kind of a weird fence to walk on, because make no mistake about it, Arthur is a horrible person, but he is someone who was pushed to the edge by society, by people around him, his peers, with a condition that just brought him over the edge. And it is just a very fine line to walk. I'm not too sure how people will feel about that in general. Okay, so in the beginning of the video, I talked about how we might talk a little bit about some spoilers. So this is the part right here, spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, maybe click out. We're about to talk about the ending of the movie. So go ahead. The ending of Joker 2, the theories have been confirmed. We have this Bat character, right, that kind of shows up throughout the movie. He, kind of a fanboy of Arthur, and he just sits kind of in the back quietly watching things. And when it becomes time that Arthur finally gives up this mantle and gives up on Joker and that persona, this guy takes that personally and is so angry that he kills Arthur, laughing in the background, giving us our clue and our confirmation that Arthur Fleck was never the Joker. He was the inspiration for the Joker, which in hindsight kind of made sense. I was talking to my lady when we left the theater, and I was like, well, maybe there was a reason that the movie was called Joker and not The Joker. If I'm late to that, let me know. If you already knew it, tell me in the comments. But when it comes to this reveal and this confirmation of theories, I am kind of up in the air about it, because even though I do love the first movie and I had a decent enough time with this second film, you were never going to convince me that this guy was ever going to be capable enough to take on Batman. Arthur Fleck is not some calculated evil villain. He's very fragile, and he's always getting caught by the cops. So I accepted that this was just a different take and a lesser version of the character that we all know. Plus, he was so much older than Bruce Wayne in that first movie that by the time that Bruce Wayne becomes Batman, it really just looks like Bruce beating up the elderly. But it was kind of a weird choice to kind of throw that at the end of your second film and kind of give us that, like, yeah, I wasn't the Joker, this guy's the Joker. Because you can't tell me that that guy at the end that stabbed Arthur is not the Joker. He's sitting back there laughing with the knife in his hand. But if you don't think that that is actually the Joker, let me know who you thought it was, or if he was just some random inmate that decided to take Arthur out. All right, no more spoilers. Overall, while, like I said, I enjoyed the film, and I do think that this is going to hit a very niche audience that is willing to endure this runtime and endure this commentary and the musical numbers that I think really do hold the film back, which sets it up for a bad time in the box office. My theater that I went to was not even half full, but with the way that the movie ended, I can honestly say I don't want to see a third film. And it does seem like Joaquin Phoenix doesn't want to either, because of the preparation that it takes to get into this character. It's a lot on your body and there are health concerns. But personally, I would like to leave the rest of what happens in this world up to speculation and interpretation, and maybe never touch on these characters again. Just have those two movies. That's fine. So for me personally, I'm going to land with a 7 out of 10, but I totally understand if you're a little bit more harsh about it. Maybe the movie just wasn't for you, and that's all good too. Different strokes for different folks, you know? But that is all I got today on Joker 2. Let me know what you thought of the movie if you did see it, or if you're going to see it, let me know what day you grabbed your tickets for it. As always, make sure you hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. Helps out the channel, pushes the video out to more people, and I appreciate that, so thank you. And while you're down there, why not subscribe to the channel so that you stay updated on any future videos that I decide to put out. I got a couple. I'm gonna talk about Penguin. We got 2 episodes of Agatha that I need to discuss because I didn't put out a video last week, so be sure to stay on the lookout for those. Appreciate you giving me your time. I'm gonna head out of here. Y'all be smooth and stay geeked up.